Hey guys, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Nitro. Well, in this episode I'm going to give you guys a showcase of my new Leviathan Super Heavy Airlifter. So just to show you what the lifter is with nothing attached to it, I'm going to load it up here. When you download this lifter from the download link, either in the descriptions of this video or on the forums where I have it posted, you want to put it in the subassemblies category, and it'll show up here as the Leviathan Supermax Payload Lifter. One size fits all and 200-ton safe limit. I have tested it up to ships in excess of 250 tons, but you start running into structural stability issues with ships that go that heavy. So 200 tons, no problem. 225, you're fine. Getting up into the 250 range, you'll probably know some structural problems. But most craft that you probably make aren't even 200 tons, so you really don't have to worry too much. So click on it to load it in here. I'm just going to attach it to the bottom of this little itty bitty pod so you guys can see what all goes into this lifter. And I'll give you guys a rundown of the staging. So when you load it in here, you might notice that there's no engines on the bottom. Well, don't be worried here. The engines are actually underneath all of these decouplers here. You can see right there. These are 1500 Rocket Max engines. Underneath all of these decouplers. Now, the reason that I did this, and there's all of these engines here, is because when you set this thing on the launch pad, these launch clamps are supporting the weight of everything here. So there's launch clamps on the sides here that are helping support the weight of all of these, and there's also launch clamps that help support the weight of all of these orange tanks as well. So these orange tanks are doubly supported, and then the center section is also supported by the one in the center. One thing that you might want to do when you load your craft in is you might want to add some extra supports on the center depending on how heavy your craft is. So if you have a 200-ton craft or something like that, you might want to just add 2 extra supports to the middle section like this. Just on this fuel tank here. If you happen to run into a rare issue where this tank actually detaches from this other top one, my recommendation would be to just add more struts, in all honesty, to the thing. If you choose to, you can also put another, couple up here on this top tank to help alleviate some of that pressure, but yes, it is kind of hard to do it because yeah, these other things are getting in the way. Let's see. I might be able to solve this issue right now with just these. Well, I think the reason I never actually did this is because you'll notice it's snapping to the angle symmetry. So putting anything directly on this tank is a little hard, but if you have something on top of this with an engine where you can fit another docking clamp in between the symmetry line, do that. You don't want any of your docking clamps when you attach them to anything on this or on any of your craft. You don't want any of these strut lines to intersect or go through these docking clamps, because when you actually go to launch it, the struts will be attached to the docking clamps and not attached to what they are here. So keep that in mind whenever you're adding struts to anything and you have docking clamps, because that'll cause structural failure. I did have a rare case when lifting heavier craft off with this lifter where the struts on the bottom here actually detached, but that was 190 tons, I think, or something like that. I'm not sure. But if that happens to you, just add another set of struts right here. It's real easy to do. Just add another strut here and another strut here just to double up on the struts. So if you run into any structural problems, doing that just like that is the easiest fix for it, for the bottoms coming off, and that'll usually hold it. Otherwise, I haven't had very many failures with this design when lifting up oddly shaped craft. On here, on this other docking clamp, I also have struts set up here, so the docking clamp, or the decoupler, my bad, doesn't come loose. So whenever you attach a heavy craft to the top of this thing, just grab these with the 8x symmetry and attach them to your craft like that, just so this decoupler doesn't come free when the craft is in flight. The only other things that you can do to this is add more fuel, really, and add these nose cones to the top of these orange tanks if you so choose. When you actually bring a heavy craft on top of here, you want to attach your struts to the nose cones on these gray tanks, because these are the last to detach from the craft, and by this time you'll already be in high altitude or in space. So don't attach struts to the orange tanks, because these detach first, so you're going to be losing your structural integrity if you strut anything to these. Otherwise, I have lifted heavy craft around 200 tons off the ground with 8 times symmetry, with a double set of these tanks on everything and nose cones on top of them, so I just added more fuel. So you can do that, and this craft will still get off the ground just fine, even with all this extra fuel on there, if you add an extra 8 to every single one. So here I'm going to load in a craft and just show you guys how to fly this thing with a proper vessel on it. So the one in the picture online has this. I gotta find it here. Here it is. If you're looking at this on the forums, then you'll recognize this craft from the first picture. This is my Papa Dragon ship. Once it loads in here, there we go. This doesn't have the new one. I'll just swap that out right now. So now you get to see the attachment of the actual thing. So this is the old version, so I'm just going to delete that and then attach the new version onto the bottom of this. Just so you guys have an idea of how to actually go and set this thing up. I'll do it for you here. So the Papa Dragon, this is my payload and transfer stage. It's going to transfer the entire ship. Uh-oh, did not want to do that. This might take a little time for it to put all those back on there. Hopefully it doesn't put the whole lifter back on the bottom. Nah, it did. Alright. Go away. Try it again. There we go. Alright. So now, once you load it into your subassemblies, you can grab it by clicking on it, and it'll pop into your scene here. Like that. Now you just attach it to the bottom of your craft like this, and you're done. You want to make sure that it's properly supported and everything. So like I said, with these 8, you're going to notice they're already on here for you. So you just click on them to set them and attach them to your thing like that. You don't want to make sure they don't attach to any engines if you do have engines that are this close, otherwise it'll rip the engines off the tanks. So keep an eye on that. I think these are the other ones I have attached to there. I'll just attach that to docking clamp so that doesn't come loose. And let's see. So when you actually go to strut this thing to your craft, this is how you do it. Or this is how I did it, so that's how you should do it. Fine. So just to be on the safe side, make sure I don't have this bottom structural failure. That could occur, but not likely. Let's double up on those struts now. And And I think the center tank should be good in this one. Yeah, so I do have better struts on here than the one that I had on there before. So this looks good, looks proper. Alright. So the next thing you want to do when you do your staging is whenever you load anything in here, you want to double check the docking clamps. If you had some docking clamps already on your craft, like I did here, they are duplicated onto the stage that's not supposed to go loose. So this is going to create a dead stage essentially when you actually make it. So what we want to do is we want to bring all the docking clamps that need to detach off of this stage and into the first stage. So that's going to be this one here, there. I think it's just all these. Oh no. Couple more, I guess. Alright, that looks like all of them. Goes down to that stage like that. 9, that looks right. So these 9 docking clamps attached to here are not going to detach. They are going to hold these in place so that way the craft slides out of it when it launches. And I'll show you that when we take this thing to the launch pad. So double check all the staging. All these stages here above it should only have 2 decouplers in each stage. So if there's anything in there after, let's see, this stage 7, then you want to make sure to move that out because that's not supposed to be there. And so that one detaches there, then we fire these 8 engines, and everything else looks good. Alright, so that's set up, and I'm actually going to save this because this is my new configuration. Let's go ahead and launch. Did not go. Hello. Go. There we go. So there, it's set everything down on the launch pad, all the physics are loaded in, nothing looks like it broke, which is good. And now this is how you fly the ship. So when you launch, it's going to detach all these launch clamps, and then this here, this stage 19, is going to become a dead stage, which means there's going to be nothing in that stage after the craft leaves the ground, which is the way it should be. And then as you increase altitude, you just right click on each fuel tank and watch the fuel gauge. When it hits 0, hit spacebar, and that'll get the fuel gauge off your screen and it'll detach the stages. And you just go around the loop with these things as you launch. So you right click on each one in turn around the entire loop. And then once it hits the very last one, which is over here, then it starts taking from the gray tanks, and then you don't have to watch those. You just watch them the way you would over here on the left hand on your staging like you normally would, and you're done. So usually after about the halfway point, so the duplicate of this stage, you can click on these over here on the right side and watch them so you don't have to rotate around your entire craft while it goes. I usually like to get the craft up to the max altitude that these orange tanks will take it for the fuel consumption. And then after that, I begin my gravity turn. So I'm going to show you guys here how to fly it. So here we go. Alright, so there we go. I got the apoapsis up to 81,000. This is how you want to fly it usually. You will notice that I did throttle down to 3/4 as I was jettisoning about halfway through the tanks, and then remained at 3/4 even after we're getting up here into orbit. And the reason for doing that is you're gaining thrust-to-weight ratio as you're jettisoning those orange tanks. And so once you get into the high atmosphere, you still have enough thrust-to-weight ratio to move your craft at a decent speed, and you're consuming less fuel because you're running at a lower throttle, and then it's less likely to rip apart depending on how you strut your craft to this thing. So this design has worked out really well, even up to this point where we are right now. So once we get about, let's see, get a little closer, now we can start our burn. Alright, so there we go. We have a nice orbit around Kerbin. Not perfectly circular, of course, but you can do that depending on how you fly your craft. And we still have plenty of fuel left here in part of the main rocket stage, so that tank's depleted. This tank has a little more than half fuel left in it. So we still have enough fuel to start doing an ejection burn from Kerbin if we wanted to. Depending on whether or not your craft has a docking port, you can always refuel part of this fuel section, depending on how much of the lifter you have left with you up in orbit. And then once you're done, from the main craft legs. And there we go, there goes our lifter, and we have this craft in orbit, which weighs 143.51 tons. So that's an over 100-ton vessel up into orbit. Of course, we do have heavier craft that I've gotten up into here with this stage, so that's just to show you guys the capabilities of it and how to fly it. So hope you guys found this video helpful on how to fly the Leviathan lifter, and this is my Papa Dragon interplanetary spaceship. So hope you guys enjoyed, have fun with the lifter. If you have any problems, just let me know in the comments below, or if you're on the forums, send me an issue about what you have and I'll give you some ideas on how to fix it. Thanks guys.